Okay, hello. Today is the 18th of July, 2023, and we'll talk about three architects. We'll start with Carlo Aymonino, born in 1926 and died in 2010. Let's read a little bit about him. Carlo Aymonino, as you can see, born the 18th of July, 1926, and died also in July, but 2010. Was an Italian architect and urban planner, best known for the Monte Amiata housing complex in Milan. Born in Rome, he studied at the University of Rome, obtaining his degree in 1950. In the same year, he also got trained by Marcello Piacentini. The year after his graduation, he opened his architectural practice in Rome. Between 1949 and 1954, with a very famous Mario Ridolfi and Ludovico Quaroni, he had his first real professional experience building the INA Casa housing complex. This was located in Rome on Via Tiburtina, and it is a remarkable example of Italian neorealism. Through this architectural experience, he acquired the practical skills which will be visible in later housing projects. Among the latter, remarkable were the 1955 Spine Bianche complex located in the city of Matera and the 1957 Traturo dei Preti housing project in the city of Foggia. From 1967 to 1970, Aymonino, as part of Studio Aide, collaborated with Aldo Rossi on the design of the Monte Amiata housing blocks in the Galaratese district in Milan. We are going to see these works. This was the man, Carlo Aymonino. Like other Italian architects, he was also very involved in editing, architecture magazines, teaching and so on. So he had a diverse activity. Some drawings of Carlo Aymonino. This actually is very similar. I mean, let's see, there is even almost an Aldo Rossi building there. And they did collaborate in Milan, and we are going to see. It might be that project was the most important or the best known realized project by Carlo Aymonino. I don't know who the gentleman on the left is, but the one on the right is Carlo Aymonino. Handmade drawings, pencil drawings. At that time, there was no, digital production. A project for Il Campidoglio in Rome. Interesting how he decentered what Michelangelo did there. Some echoes here from Le Douamboulet. 1957, Palazzo di Giustizia, the Palace of Justice in Brindisi with Sergio Lenci, 1957. Unfortunately, I don't have pictures. Liceo Scientifico in Marconi in Pesaro, 1970, 1973. Sorry about the resolution of the picture. It wasn't very easy to find images of his work, but this is, I think, a rather good example of Italian rationalism. A view of the classroom. And the present with monitors and keyboards and all the rest. The class did change, you know, we see here in a way more disorder and more life than with the all aligned looking at the screens, at the monitors. The auditorium, now Casa Pargeggio in Pesaro, 1978, 1981. It's an apartment, block of flats with the access to the apartments from an exterior corridor. Carlo Aymonino. I like the fact that, you know, he was not mimicking whatever was already built on the right side of this street in the picture. And, you know, he created an architecture that is, should we use the words of, but I don't think it's quite true what Valerio Olgiati said about the non-referential architecture. I wouldn't really say that what Carlo Aymonino did is non-referential just because it didn't mimic, you know, some similitudes with the existing works on the other side of the street. Very conveniently, apartments served from an external corridor, cross ventilation, easily crystallized, very functional schemes. On 2 floors, on 2 levels. Otherwise, you know, square windows, maybe 2 square. If I can say something like this, it does sound strange. No, 2 square. How could that be? It's either square or not square, but to say 2 square. Anyway, you can easily understand the architectural scheme here with the exterior corridor and duplexes and so on. Centro Direzionale Benelli in Pesaro, 1980-1983, similar in a way in terms of architecture to what already we saw. Now the Colosso, this was a project, 1982-1984, Colosso in Roma, with three other architects, another Aymonino there. And yes, Rome it is. These nostalgic projects done in Italy by Italian architects do have a power of seduction because, you know, they are part of a continuum, a temporal continuum, and then you see the, you know, the presence of figuration, like this Colosso. A meditation on life, on architecture. There were also the times, you know, postmodernism flirted with illusions that on the spiral of time, it's possible to connect explicitly and even literally, but often postmodernism crippled some good architects because of the rather dubious invitations to borrow historicist, models from other times and places. But in Rome, with such a grand history, I guess you cannot mimic things. You have to deeply attempt to connect if that's what you want to connect. You cannot. It's not a place to propose superficial connections with a glorious and long past. Carlo Aymonino, Arte, Architettura e Città, Teoria dell'Architettura. He published some volumes in this way with sketches showing various aspects of architecture, and then with his handwritten notes. It's kind of interesting. I mean, without the stiff pretensions of the experts. Maybe a work of love. And to have a sketched, theory of architecture or a sketched history of architecture without, pretensions of having, the ultimate word could be, I think, as I said, refreshing. Of course, he introduced also his proposals or his, some of his ideas. Nova said this is the University of Architecture and Urbanism in Venice. Nova said the new 1998, but I think it was a project and I couldn't find images. I just discovered the name of this work. And then we arrive at this maybe his most important work, or the best known, the Gallarate Quarter in Milan. On the left is Aldo Rossi, and on the right is Carlo Aymonino. And it's a different approach to the same theme, meaning housing. I think Carlo Aymonino is perhaps less idiosyncratically personal, but maybe more dynamic, and in a certain sense, perhaps closer to life as lived. Carlo Aymonino, Gallarate, Milan. As opposed to Aldo Rossi, he is freer somehow, and he's not afraid to use, unexpected touches of color. Yes, different from Aldo Rossi, not just in this project, but in general. So this part of this dual project shows the contribution by Carlo Aymonino. In a way, quite different from what Aldo Rossi did. And here is Aldo Rossi, the long building on the right, and then these are by Carlo Aymonino in Milan. Okay, so let's wish him happy birthday, and now we'll talk about a different architect, very different architect, but maybe we can talk a little bit before we go to the second architect. Yeah, just a second.